first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit for my brother and sister-in-law after they previously told me they don't trust me? I, 28 male, have an older brother, 31 male, and sister-in-law, 30 female, who have a 3-year-old son, and sister-in-law is about 7 months pregnant with their second child. I am a single man in my 20s and live by myself. As such, I live a fairly typical bachelor lifestyle. I enjoy going out to bars and clubs. In the past, I have attended music festivals and dabbled in substance use, and I do not apologize for it. It's the way I am choosing to live my life right now. But I am also working full-time for a Fortune 500 company and making, well, over 6 figures. All in all, I like to think that I have my stuff together pretty well for a person my age. When my brother and sister-in-law had their first kid, sister-in-law pretty much told me in no uncertain terms that she would never trust me to watch her son by myself. She told this to me completely on her own, and when I asked my brother about it, he pretty much just sided with her and shrugged. Now, I admit that some aspects of my lifestyle are not kid-friendly, but I also understand there is a time and a place for everything, and I would never do anything to put my nephew in any compromised situation. I have never pressed the topic with my sister-in-law or my brother, and until recently, it has never been a problem. A few weeks ago, my brother called me in the middle of the night and asked if I could watch their son. Sister-in-law was having stomach pains and they needed to go to the hospital, but they had no one else to watch their son. Sister-in-law's parents were quarantined after COVID exposure, and every other option they had couldn't do it. I was literally a last resort. I asked if sister-in-law was okay with it, and my brother said she didn't know. He was asking me and he was desperate. I told him the only way I would be okay with it was if sister-in-law asked me herself, because I didn't want to cause an issue. My brother told me they didn't have time and they would drop off my nephew on the way to the hospital in an hour. When they got to my apartment, I went down to meet them and sister-in-law saw me and recognized where they were and started screaming at my brother. She started yelling questions at me like whether or not I have a substance on the counter or if I have a girl up there with me. So I told my brother I was sorry, but this wasn't going to work. I told him I love him and hope everything works out, and I told sister-in-law the same. But she ignored me and told my brother to take her to the hospital. Everything at the hospital ended up being okay, and sister-in-law and the baby are healthy. She wasn't going into early labor and they were back home the next day. However, my brother called me after that and said I was a huge a-hole for not helping. I said it wasn't really my decision, as sister-in-law made it pretty clear in the moment that she didn't want her son staying with me. He said I should have just taken my nephew, as sister-in-law was in no condition to make a rational decision. My mom called me the other day and said I should apologize to my brother and sister-in-law for what I did, but I don't think I was even in the wrong. Was I an a-hole for not helping them? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. That's insane. You literally were going to get screamed at and have been the bad guy no matter what you did. That's not fair to you at all. Yes, exactly. OP, you did the right thing. And honestly, your brother and sister-in-law are the ones who owe you the apology. In fact, less your sister-in-law who had already made her thoughts clear than your brother. Not the a-hole. I personally believe you went about this the right way. You were willing to help. You knew sister-in-law wouldn't, so you asked for her permission. I don't think you owe anyone an apology. Yeah, at first I thought this would be a stubborn, "Oh, you said you didn't want me to," thing with a sister-in-law asking for help. But it obviously isn't at all. What the hell did his brother expect him to do? Take the kid while his mother was there screaming she didn't want him to? Both parents get a say in a veto in who can watch their child, and she clearly wasn't comfortable with it. Plus, the brother is an A, saying she wasn't thinking straight. Sister-in-law has always said she isn't comfortable with it. It's not new. Not the a-hole. If she, in her state of mind, had enough capacity to insist no, and to question whether you had substances or a girl, both of which are none of her business, then she was in her right mind enough that her demand of no should have been respected. This should be said to anyone who tries to say you're wrong. Someone should be asking sister-in-law why she had to be an a-hole, not asking you. Not the a-hole, and don't let them tell you otherwise. She did say D's on the counter, so I can see that as a concern for the safety of her child. Not necessarily a rational one, as just because someone takes substances occasionally does not mean they have them lying around their home for a child to stumble on. Now, let's read the next story. Am I the a-hole for sabotaging my little brother's food on purpose? My little brother is 18. I'm 20. I am staying with my family for the holidays and thought it'd be a nice time, but I forgot that they treat me like a housekeeper. I do almost all the chores and I don't mind if it's my chore. Obviously, if I notice the dishwasher's full, I empty it. If I cook, I clean up. If I make a mess, I clean up. However, if my little brother makes a mess, he makes me clean up. If I refuse and tell him to do it himself, he tells my parents and they side with him and just bug me until I do it. My brother also asks me to cook for him. He pulls out brownie mix and is like, "Make this." I always am like, "Sure, I can make it, but you have to help." He gets mad and says, "I helped by taking out the box." And when I refuse to make stuff for him or tell him to make it himself, he'll throw a fit and tell our parents. Lately, he keeps asking me to make stuff and I get frustrated going back and forth about why can't he make the stuff himself or just ask our parents. So I make the food he asks, but I always add stuff he doesn't like. Coincidentally, he hates a ton of stuff I love to eat. So if he asks for brownies and refuses to help, I put nuts in it. He hates them and I like them. He came over to see the brownies and got mad at me and told me he hated nuts and can't eat the brownies anymore. I just said, "Too bad. Make it yourself next time or help me, and tell me not to put nuts in." I thought he'd learned his lesson to at least help, but he keeps asking for stuff and I just keep putting stuff in that he doesn't like. He finally got fed up and said he's not eating because I keep making stuff with stuff he doesn't like. I just shrugged and told him to make his own food then. He told my parents, of course, and they just told me to stop being an a-hole and make food for him. It was my last day at home, so I just told them to make food for him if they're so concerned before I left. Now my parents are upset with me, and my brother is angry with me, and I am wondering if I was too petty. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. When I was reading, I thought your brother was like 5. Then I went back and realized he was 18. Thank God you're out of there. I helped by taking out the box. No, just no. It sounds like your parents have really different standards for the two of you, and much higher expectations on you. I'm guessing this is gender-based, though you didn't mention. Anyway, I think this is hilarious, and you should consider putting it in r/malicious compliance. Your brother is legally an adult, and certainly old enough to handle making a box of brownie mix, and is way past the point where he can stand to learn that if he wants something done a certain way, he can do it himself. Not the a-hole, and well played. Yeah, 3 sentences in, I went, "Oh, OP is a girl, isn't she?" Not the a-hole. He sounds like an idiot. Why would your parents expect you to cater to him? Your parents are a-holes for allowing your brother to be such an entitled little turd. You are definitely not the a-hole. Why do your parents baby him? That's nauseating. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole because I don't want to give my dog to my autistic nephew? I found a dog, Dave, that had been abandoned at a dog park. I waited with him until it was dark, and then took him home with the intention of trying to find an owner or a rescue that would take him. He had no collar, and when I took him to my vet the next day, we couldn't find a microchip. He was clearly someone's pet at some point. He's neutered, housebroken, and very friendly. Rehoming him never really panned out. No owner ever turned up despite searching and posting on lost pet pages, and I wasn't willing to take him to a kill shelter. My husband was annoyed at first, but it's been almost 2 years now. My other dog has bonded with him. I've fallen in love with him, and even my husband has grudgingly accepted him. As far as I'm concerned, Dave is part of our family. My brother-in-law and his family relocated to our city and moved in with us while they were closing on a house. My 8-year-old nephew has autism, and it's caused him some struggles. His parents had talked about trying to find him a pet, but I guess they never found a good fit, at least until they met Dave. He really bonded with Dave, to the point where he sneaks out of bed at night to sleep in Dave's dog's bed with him. Dave is all he talks about, and he gets upset whenever we leave the house and don't take the dogs with us. I guess my sister-in-law talked to my husband about keeping Dave when they moved out, and my husband told her he'd have to talk to me, but I guess there was a strong insinuation that it would be okay. I only found out about this proposal when my brother-in-law approached me and thanked me for letting them keep Dave before my husband ever even mentioned it to me. My husband and I had a fight, and when the dust settled, it's the three of them against me. My husband feels that because Dave was living with us more by accident than design, so we were really fostering him more than keeping him. And so it would be selfish to keep him when my nephew clearly loves him so much. He says we can go to the shelter and get another companion for our other dog. So that's like a win-win. Dave gets a home and another dog gets out of the shelter for Christmas. And Dave would certainly be very loved and spoiled with my in-laws. And yet, after 2 years, he feels like my dog. The thought of giving him away after all this time hurts. And the idea that my in-laws are using my nephew's autism as some kind of trump card to prove they're entitled to have him really rubs me the wrong way. And I don't see him as interchangeable. Like, I can just pop down to the shelter and score a perfect replacement. Now, let's read the top comments. Not at a-hole. They're trying to bully you. Now, a conversation between you and your husband about whether to keep the dog is one thing. But your husband basically did this without consulting you. But your brother-in-law and his wife have no say in this. Their autistic kid is irrelevant. Exactly. The husband should have at least said he would talk to Opie but no promises, and then ran it by the wife. The husband should have known how much Opie cared for the dog, even his feelings may have been little. Brother-in-law and his wife are just being overbearing regarding an issue that is not their decision. They're not doing your nephew any favors and leading him on that he actually might get your dog. Kids, autistic or not, need to learn that they don't get everything they might want. There are so many dogs that need a home right now. Just Google how to apply for a service dog for a child. There are organizations that train dogs just for that purpose. Not an a-hole. Just because it's easy doesn't make it right. They can get their own dog. Keep Dave and give your hubby to the in-laws. Not the a-hole. Now, for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to cook with my mother-in-law? I, 26 female, married my husband last year. Our marriage is good, and for the most part, I love his family, with the exception of his mom. At first, she seemed as nice as the rest of his family. She was welcoming and nice, and she would invite me to cook with her during family dinners and holidays, and it was nice. Then when my husband and I got engaged, she started bringing up his high school girlfriend. They were together from 14 to 17 when she passed away. My mother-in-law had known her from early childhood because my husband and her were friends first, and mother-in-law thought she was great. Mother-in-law was devastated when she died, and my husband admitted after I brought up concerns that he always thought mother-in-law wanted them to get married someday. We have both asked her not to compare me to his former girlfriend, and she always says, of course, she's sorry, but she does it. When we're alone and cooking together is when she brings her up the most. She'll say how they used to love cooking together when she was at their house and how she did something a different way or how she would have been a talented chef if she had been given the chance. One time, my husband walked in while she was comparing me to his former girlfriend, and he told his mom to knock it off, that she was hurting my feelings. Mother-in-law said she hadn't realized. After that, I sat her down and told her that I understood she loved the girl, and of course, she misses her. But it feels uncomfortable when she compares me to her directly, and could she please stop? I told her that I didn't want any hard feelings, but it was hurting how often she compared me to her. She apologized and seemed genuine because the apology was great, but the very next time, she did it again, and after a gentle reminder, it happened yet another time. So I said I was done, and I now believe it's done deliberately. My husband agrees. We can't decide if she's trying to get rid of me, saying out of malice, or if she's just so uncaring that she doesn't bother to try and filter what she says. My husband told her that she makes others uncomfortable too, and hurts my feelings every time. He told her that she hurts him too by bringing it up because he loves me and is happy with me, and doesn't like his mom seemingly wishing we weren't together. Once lockdown hit, we didn't see his family for several months, and only recently saw them again, and mother-in-law approached and said she was sorry, and father-in-law helped her realize what she was doing wrong. I told her I accept her apology. She then asked if the next time we can get together at home, would I like to cook with her again? And I told her no, that I think it is better we don't. She's upset and claims I should give her another chance. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She was told multiple times by you and your husband to stop. She ignored it. It's kind of you to accept her apologies, but you don't have to cook with her, and she only has herself to blame. Yes, that's called a consequence. Apologies don't always negate the consequence to things that we do, and we have to accept that. Opie's mother-in-law has to accept that part of Opie accepting her apology is having space from her not cooking with her. Not the a-hole. It's time for some boundaries here. Husband has your back. Talk it over with him, and if he's with it, low contact and no cooking. She has no right to have an option on her son's marriage or who he married anymore. It's said and done. Also, the girl died. She's not around, so I don't understand why using her memory to hurt people accomplishes anything. Matter of fact, next time she says something like that, tell her, I bet you, if that ex is so amazing, she would be really disappointed in the way and reason you talk about her now. Not the a-hole. Let's say she really did change and won't be doing that anymore. The fact is, she promised this before and failed to keep it, literally every time she made it. It's going to take time for you to build up trust with her, and if she's really remorseful, then she needs to understand that. One more apology and promise to do better doesn't erase her history. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you with the next one. Stay safe. Am I the a-hole for not splitting my college fund with my dad's affair child? Plus update. Original post. My father dropped a bombshell in our family last year when he revealed that he had a secret son from an affair years ago. After my mom found out about the affair at a time and gave him an ultimatum, he cut things off with the mistress and she moved away. Until last year when she introduced him to their son, Hank, 14 male. I don't really care about his sudden desire to be a father, considering he didn't show any regard for the rest of his family when he broke the news. Thank God my mom divorced him. And now neither my brother Connor, 18 male, my sister Sophia, 15 female, nor I, 23 male, want anything to do with him. Here's the thing. We have a shared college fund that my mom's parents set up for us when we were little. My parents contributed almost half of the money, and my maternal grandparents contributed the other half. The account remains under my mom's control after the divorce. As far as I know, my father stopped contributing to the fund after they split. Last month, I found out that my dad has been harassing my mom because he wanted to add Hank as a beneficiary to the college fund for me and my siblings. He claims that since Hank is his son, he is entitled to the fund that was set up for Connor, Sophia, and me. My mom told him off, but now he's been going around bad-mouthing her online and to their mutual friends, saying that she is heartless and cruel for taking her anger out on an innocent child. He also had the nerve to reach out to me, trying to pressure my mom through me. He said I should consider opening my heart to Hank, who grew up without a father and wasn't given the same opportunities as my siblings and me. I left him on red because, honestly, the things I wanted to say to the callous man would not have been pleasant. Yesterday, he changed tactics and said he wanted to withdraw all of his contributions from the account, divide them so that Hank get a share, and then deposit the remaining money back. He added a caveat that, since Connor and I didn't need a college fund for tuition due to our full-ride scholarships, the money should be divided into 2 parts, for Hank and Sophia, instead of being split 4 ways among his 4 children. Now my dad, some of his side of the family, and even the mistress, are pressuring my mom to agree to this. I'm praying that she won't give in. It makes me furious that we're being asked to split our college fund with my dad's affair child. Even if I don't need the money for school, I will need it in the future, and so will Connor. I know for a fact that my dad wouldn't use the same reasoning to exclude Connor and me from the fund if it meant leaving the money solely for Sophia. It's all about Hank. I understand that Hank is innocent and not responsible for his parents' actions, but I don't see him as my brother. To be honest, I don't even see my father as a father anymore. As far as I'm concerned, my family consists of me, my siblings, and my mom. That's it. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Info. We have a shared college fund. What legal type of fund? Even if yes, I don't need to use the money to pay for school, I will need it in the future. Are you sure that's even an option? Where I live, if the funds are unused due to scholarship, We can withdraw it and won't be penalized. And I am considering getting a master's, so even if I didn't have to pay for undergraduate, I probably will need it for grad school. The fund is a state-sponsored savings plan. Sorry, I can't give the actual name since it's very specific to where we live. Not a-hole at all. Where does your father get the idea that he set up this fund when it was your grandparents on your mom's side? Do his family members know the whole story? Yeah, that man's delusion is out of this world. His audacity is truly unmatched. My paternal grandparents know and support us. I know my grandma has been trying to get him to back off, but he unfortunately doesn't listen to her. It's mainly my dad's brothers who are joining him to harass my mom. I don't know if they know the full story or not. Since grandma and grandpa know, I feel like they do too. Not the a-hole. He can deal with his crappy decisions. The divorce is finalized. He can't go back and change the terms now. Additionally, it sounds like he didn't put in most of the money. It sounds like at most they put in 25%. Either way, he no longer has any claim to it. He can take out loans for Hank. I guarantee that Hank will not see a penny of that money if your dad gets a hold of it. And Sophia definitely will not see her half if it happens. Now for the update. Thank you so much, everyone, for the support and advice. I really appreciate it. I talked to my mom this morning about getting a lawyer involved and possibly a restraining order. She has been in contact with a lawyer regarding my dad's demands, and it seems he really doesn't have any legal rights to the college fund. I think some of you are correct in saying that he's doing all this because he knows he wouldn't win in court. As for the restraining order, my mom is hesitant to pursue one right now since my dad has visitation rights with Sophia, and she doesn't want to complicate things for my sister. However, she promised that if the situation gets worse, she will consider it. My brother Connor and I have also decided to take turns coming home on the weekends so that our mom and Sophia aren't alone, just in case anything happens. To clarify a few things, we haven't involved my mom's parents in this because their health isn't the best right now. When my grandfather first heard about the cheating and the secret son, he was so shocked that he had a heart attack. Thankfully, he has mostly recovered, but none of us want to put any additional stress on him. According to my dad, he didn't know about Hank's existence until last year when his mistress came back into the picture. No one in our family was aware of Hank until my dad brought him to a family event and broke the news to everyone. He blindsided and humiliated my mom, and that was the final straw for her, leading to the divorce. I honestly don't have anything against Hank. It's just that right now, I can't imagine spending time with him. He's still a minor, so any interaction would have to involve either our father or his mother, and that's a situation I'm not willing to put myself in at the moment. Maybe things will change in the future. Who knows? Hopefully this situation gets resolved soon. Thank you again, everyone, for the amazing advice and words of support. Next story. Am I the a-hole for wasting everyone's time in therapy because I was accused of lying? My mom, her husband, a die 16 female, have been in group therapy together. We started therapy a few weeks after Father's Day because that was the final straw for them. They insisted we needed therapy to work on why I won't let us be the family they want. We began at the end of July, and by the end of August, my mom accused me of lying, called me a liar, and laid out this big sob story about how much it hurt her to have me lie to her and do everything I could to destroy her marriage. It ticked me off so much. I never lied at any point. I said as much in the follow-up session, and the therapist asked me to explain my side and how I felt about my mom calling me a liar. My mom kept trying to interrupt me, told the therapist to shut up, and then accused me of being a vicious liar. To give some background, my mom and her husband got married 3 years ago, moving in together 2 months before the wedding. Before they moved in, they sat me down and asked if I was okay with us all living together and becoming a family of 3 again. My mom brought up how we'd have a man around the house again. My dad died, and she said it would be good for her to have a husband, and for me to have a dad. Her husband said he couldn't wait to be my dad, and that he had always wanted to be a father. He even mentioned that he already had plans for us for Father's Day. This was back in February, 3 years ago. I told them I wasn't okay with that. I don't want another dad, wouldn't let him be my dad, and was not going to spend Father's Day celebrating someone who isn't my dad. They just laughed it off and proceeded as if everything was fine. But every year since then, Father's Day has been a struggle because I refuse to spend a day with him. And both he and my mom have tried to make it happen. I meant what I said. I've never called him dad or let him feel that role in my life. This year, he snapped. He had a temper tantrum and said I was supposed to be with him on Father's Day, not spending the day alone, and that he didn't sign up to be nothing to me. My mom called me a liar because she claims I promised to develop a close relationship with her husband and agreed to what they asked. She said I told them I would give him Father's Day, but I lied and didn't follow through on any of it. I made them believe I was a willing participant and that I wanted us to be a family. It ticks me off because I never said what she claims. I even repeated exactly what I said back then. The therapist couldn't get my mom to apologize, and she has no control over the sessions, where my mom and her husband dominate the conversation. So I just stopped talking and would zone out during the sessions. They only noticed this 2 weeks ago. When they confronted me, I spoke up again after more than a month of staying silent in therapy, confirming that I wasn't listening. Last week, I told them I was done engaging because I was owed an apology for being called a liar. Now my mom and her husband are angry, saying I'm wasting everyone's time by not participating. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I'm surprised the therapist is still taking the sessions. They must need the money pretty badly. Your parents, like so many before them, aren't after therapy, where you have to work on your own issues. They want a wizard who can change reality for them, and maybe change you for someone who wants to call your mom's husband dad. Good luck with it all. The therapist is pretty young, so maybe she's new and doesn't want to fail at one of her first set of clients. Otherwise, I don't get why she'd keep us either, when she was literally told to shut up. And not in a nice, I got this way, but like legit shut up, we're talking kind of way. She seems really sweet. I think she's probably a good therapist, but maybe she lacks the confidence and experience to really tell them to shut up or to fire us. She does try, but my mom knows how to be loud and talk over people. The therapist being so young and new might be why she was chosen. I didn't think of that, but it does make sense with everything. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not asking my grandparents to include other kids in my house when we visit the water park? I, 16 male, live in a pretty chaotic household. After my dad passed away, my mom remarried. Her husband already had 2 kids from a previous relationship who are now 12 and 11. About 18 months after my mom and stepdad got married, my stepdad's best friend went to jail, and they took in his 2 kids who are now 8 and 6. Then my stepdad's sister passed away, and her child who is 5 also came to live with us. So in total, there are 6 kids including me, living in the house with my mom and stepdad. My dad's parents visit me a few times a year. My mom doesn't let me see them too often because she's worried that the other kids will feel left out, especially since my grandparents don't automatically include them or send them gifts. About a week ago, my grandparents told me they were planning to take me to a water park that had recently been renovated about 2 hours away. They said we could make a day of it, and my mom had already given them permission to take me for the whole day. After my call with them ended, my mom, who had been listening in, asked if that was the water park the other kids had been talking about. I told her I wasn't sure, but probably since everyone at the school had been mentioning it. A few hours later, my mom told me that she had talked to my stepdad and they wanted me to ask my grandparents to include the other kids in the trip. She said they could never afford something like that on their own, but since my grandparents could, she thought they should be willing to include all the kids just as once, because it's such a popular and exciting place. She even offered to come along and help supervise. I told my mom that I didn't want the other kids to come because I wanted to spend time with my grandparents alone. She insisted that I needed to ask my grandparents, saying they would never agree if she asked, but might say yes if they thought I wanted everyone to come. She gave me a few days to ask, but I didn't. Then my stepdad joined a conversation, and both he and my mom reprimanded me for being selfish and greedy. They said I had a chance to do something kind and wonderful for my siblings, and that it wasn't like my mom wasn't willing to help out. They reminded me that I'm the only one in the family with grandparents, so I should be encouraging a more inclusive dynamic. My mom even said that while she might not be able to force the issue, She could remind me that I'm not being the best older brother and that one day, I might actually consider them my siblings and regret not trying to make them happier. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, and please let your grandparents know you're being coerced. Maybe you can go live with them? I told them what was going on, but living with them isn't an option yet. We looked into it before, but legally I don't get to influence the decision like some states allow. If your mother wants to ask your grandparents to include others, she should do the asking, not you. She wants you to ask, so it will seem like your idea, not the a-hole. Yeah, or so she can get the answer she wants to hear. She doesn't really care about whether they'd be wanted or not while there, which is kinda awful to do to them too. It isn't fair that she keeps you from your family. Is she expecting your grandparents to pay for all of the other children too? Because that's a very expensive day. I feel for you and your grandparents. I also feel for the other kids. I mean, it would be nice for them to have grandparents as well, but your mom definitely can't force other people to step up as grandparents for kids they have no ties to. Yes, they're supposed to pay for them, and my mom said she'd pay for her own ticket only. Yeah, that is not okay. And you know what's crazy? Your stepfather didn't offer any physical or financial help. And they are all his kids/friends' kids. He sounds like a mooch. Last story. Am I the a-hole for sending my son to rehab against my ex's wishes, even though I have sole custody? Okay, so I, 34 female, have sole custody of my 14-year-old son, Liam. Lately, things have been really hard. He's been acting out a lot, skipping school, shutting down emotionally, and I recently found out he's been drinking and experimenting with pills. When I discovered that, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm a recovering alcoholic myself, been sober for 4 years now, so this news sent me into panic mode. I did what I thought any parent would do. I started looking for help. I talked to a few counselors and eventually found a rehab program that also addresses mental health issues for teens. I thought this could really help Liam before things get worse. The problem is, when I told my ex, 38 male, he completely lost it. We don't exactly get along, one of the reasons I have sole custody, but we do share visitation. When I told him about Liam and a rehab, he said I was blowing things out of proportion. He basically thinks Liam is just experimenting and that it's normal teenage behavior. He told me rehab would traumatize him, that it's too harsh, and accused me of projecting my own issues onto our son. I sort of understand where he's coming from. I know he doesn't want to see Liam go through something difficult, but at the same time, I can't just sit by and watch things get worse without doing something. I've been there. I know how addiction starts. My gut tells me I'm doing the right thing by getting him help now, before it's too late. Anyway, I went ahead and enrolled Liam in a program last week. My ex is furious. He's been calling and texting constantly, telling me I'm making a huge mistake, and that Liam will end up hating me for it. He's even threatening to take me to court to fight for custody. Honestly, I'm a wreck. Part of me feels like I might be overreacting. Like maybe I should have tried other approaches first, or at least involved his dad more in the decision. But I'm just scared, you know? Scared for Liam, scared of what could happen if I do nothing. I just don't know anymore. So am I the a-hole for sending my son to rehab without my ex's approval, even though I have full custody? Should I have listened to him more? Not the a-hole. You need to do what you think is best for your son. It may be hard for him and for you now, but for sure it will get better in the future. Good luck to you and your son. Thank you so much. I only want the best for him. He is my world. You definitely are doing the right thing. Your ex threatening to go for full custody is going to look bad for him. The court will be like, you want full custody of your child because he's getting the help he needs? If you are concerned, just keep a timeline with how the issues escalated and your communication with your ex about the situation. Update. How do I, 49 female, move forward after my daughter, 22 female, hid her father's affair from me for 2 years? Original post. I, 49 female, was married to my ex-husband, Derek, 49 male, for 20 years before divorcing a few months ago. We have 2 kids, a daughter, 22 female, and a son, 17 male. I found out Derek had been having a 2-year affair and my world was shattered. But what hurt almost as much was discovering that my daughter had known about it the whole time. She actively hid it from me for 2 years, lying, covering for him, and never once trying to warn me. When I found out, I was devastated, not just by my husband's betrayal, but by my daughter's choice to keep it from me. She was young at the time, and I understand it was a difficult position for her, but the pain was immense. I never confronted her directly, thinking it might affect her as she was about to go off to college. I just told her I knew, that I understood and tried to move on. But after she left, I found myself distancing from her more and more. It wasn't planned, I just needed space to heal, and that meant not calling her as often or reaching out as much. Fast forward a year and a half, and I've started dating someone 41 male who has a 10-year-old daughter from a previous relationship. Recently, we all went to Disney together and he posted a family photo of us on social media. For context, my boyfriend covered all the expenses as a gift for his daughter's birthday, wanting to make it special for her. Along with my son and me, she chose her 2 cousins to come along, making it a big family-style trip that was all about her. My daughter must have seen the post because she didn't call me for over a month afterward. And honestly, I wasn't as affected by her absence as I would have been before. I still love her, but every interaction brings up that pain. Out of nowhere, she called me in tears. She was screaming, saying I obviously hadn't forgiven her and that I'd shut her out on purpose. She accused me of replacing her with my boyfriend and his daughter. She kept saying, "It was a long time ago. I was a kid. I didn't mean to hurt you." She explained she thought she was doing the right thing by staying quiet, that she didn't know how to tell me, and that she was terrified of breaking our family apart. She asked me if I'd ever forgive her or if I'd move on for good. I tried to tell her that I loved her and never wanted to replace her, but she just kept pushing, saying I should get over it by now and that I'd abandon her for this new life. To top it off, my ex-husband later called me, furious, accusing me of leaving my daughter for a younger man and a new family. He even had the nerve to call me selfish for moving on. Ironically, his girlfriend is 30, and he's the one who blew up our family with his affair. It feels like no one understands that I'm still trying to recover from years of betrayal, and it seems like I'm expected to just let it go as if my pain doesn't matter. My son, who lives with me, found out about his sister hiding the affair after overhearing my ex-mother-in-law and sister-in-law talking. He was crushed and hasn't forgiven her either, and they've barely spoken since. I never wanted him to know, but it feels like the entire family is divided now, and I don't know how to fix it. I'm in therapy, but I still feel lost. Part of me knows she was young and didn't know how to handle it, but another part of me feels like she chose him over me. I love my daughter, but every time we talk, that hurt resurfaces. I don't know if I'm failing as a mother or if I'm protecting myself. I feel like I've emotionally checked out, and I don't know how to reconnect. Edit, just to clarify, my divorce actually happened a few months ago, not 3 years ago as I originally mentioned. My sister, who is a bit of a scatterbrain, encouraged me to post here and typed out much of it for me. In the process, she got the timeline wrong and I didn't catch it before posting. My daughter was 17 when she found out about the affair. She had a lot going on at a time, including having to change schools due to some personal issues and repeating a year. So when I found out, it was less than 2 years ago. I hope this clears up the confusion. Now for the top advice before reading the update. You should definitely cut all contact with your ex unless it's about your minor child. Keep all communication via text so you don't have to hear his BS. That he thinks he can call and berate you is unbelievable. Next time, don't pick up or just hung up. Maybe you and your daughter could get therapy together to try and sort things out. I understand she was a kid trying to keep the family together, but your feelings are totally valid. I can't imagine how hurtful it must have been knowing she hid it for so long. It's been 5 years. She could have worked on all of this by now. Her daughter's feelings about being replaced with a new family are totally valid too. Now there's 5 years of damage done to her daughter on top of all the guilt she felt. Holding children to adult standards is BS. I understand your point, but it's actually only been less than 2 years since I found out about everything. Did your daughter ever apologize for what she did? Your ex can go kick rocks. I hope you blocked him after telling him to take a long walk off his short beer and taking a long look in the mirror. He had your daughter complicit in his affair and blew up his marriage. Unfortunately, your daughter has learned not to take accountability from her dad. If you need to be in contact with your ex due to your son, use a family app. Outside of that, don't speak or engage with him. He is an a-hole. OP, I wish you all the best with your healing and happiness. Thank you for your kind words and support. Honestly, my daughter's apology has been complicated. She did express that she was sorry, but it often came with explanations of how difficult it was for her, how she was stuck between her father and me. I can understand that she was young and in an impossible situation, but it still feels like she's brushing aside the depth of the hurt. Sometimes it seems like she doesn't fully understand why it's so painful for me, and that part has been hard to get past. As for my ex, yes, I've definitely limited contact with him to what's necessary for our son. My son mostly stays with me, so that call was a bit unexpected. We rarely speak directly, and when we do, it's usually through our lawyers. Our divorce was only finalized a few months ago, so I'm still adjusting to all the boundaries and just trying to protect my peace. He doesn't deserve any extra energy or emotional space in my life, and I'm doing my best to keep it that way. Now for the update. First, I want to thank everyone who responded to my post. I was honestly overwhelmed by the sheer number of replies. I tried my best to read through as many as I could, and some of the advice was hard to hear but necessary. It's been a lot to take in, but one comment really stayed with me. Someone mentioned how fragile life is and how little time we truly have with the people we love. That struck me deeply. I've been so consumed by the pain and anger that I forgot to think about what I'd want my relationship with my daughter to look like in the long run. If something were to happen tomorrow, would I be okay with leaving things as they are? That thought stayed with me, and within a few days, I decided to contact my daughter. I told her I wanted us to talk, not to rehash the past or point fingers, but to figure out how we could move forward. She was hesitant at first, which I completely understand. We had a conversation a few nights ago, and while it wasn't easy, I'm grateful she was willing to open up. There were tense moments, and I won't lie, it was hard to hear some of what she said. But for the first time in a long while, I felt like we were finally addressing what had been festering between us. We talked about what had happened, and I finally asked her for the truth about everything. When I first discovered her father's affair, he told me that she had always known about it. In fact, he claimed she had been his ally, hiding things from me multiple times. He even said that she disliked me and was on his side. Hearing that from him was devastating. I couldn't believe my daughter would do something like that or feel that way about me. The way I found out about the affair was awful, and the idea that my daughter had played any part in it, even unknowingly, made it so much worse. At first, she was very reluctant to talk about it, but eventually, she opened up and shared everything, including what led to her actions. A few months before discovering the affair, she had been involved in a difficult situation at her high school. Without going into specifics, it was a matter where her actions led to serious consequences. The school had a zero-tolerance policy, and as a result, she was expelled. She had to transfer to a new school and repeat the year. On top of that, her grades suffered, and she found it challenging to get back on track. When it happened, I felt it was important for her to face the full weight of her actions and take responsibility. I grounded her and took away her electronics, hoping the consequences would help her reflect and grow. I wanted her to understand the gravity of the situation and emerge from it as a better person. Her father, however, completely disagreed with my approach. He felt I was being too harsh, insisting that she had already learned her lesson and needed support rather than punishment. The tension in our household became unbearable. Between my frustration with him and my disappointment in her actions, I found it harder and harder to communicate properly with her. There were constant fights, arguments that seemed to erupt over everything and nothing at the same time. It wasn't just them. Therapy over the past year helped me realize that I played a part too. My hurt and frustration often came out as anger, and instead of addressing things calmly, I let my emotions take control. I was constantly angry and frustrated, and my mood likely created an even more tense and uncomfortable environment for everyone. So when she found out about his affair shortly after, she was still angry at me and reeling from everything that had happened. She admitted that part of her decision to stay quiet was fueled by a desire to get back at me. She felt like keeping the secret was her way of taking revenge, though she now realizes how wrong that was. She also told me she had tried to get her father to come clean, but he discouraged her, saying I had already been disappointed enough by her situation and shouldn't be burdened further. Feeling trapped, she lied and kept lying, hoping it would somehow blow over without me finding out. Hearing this from her was heartbreaking. It didn't justify what she did, but it helped me understand her perspective. Knowing her father pressured her to keep the secret makes my anger toward him even stronger. He broke everything with his affair and then used our daughter to cover for him, making her feel trapped and responsible for his lies. I hate what he put her through. To be honest, our marriage was already going through a rough patch at a time, and we likely would have ended up divorcing anyway. However, it's one thing to fail as a husband, but to fail so completely as a parent is unforgivable. They always had a good relationship, and I never wanted to ruin that for her, even when I was angry. But seeing how he used her in his lies has only deepened my resentment. I told her that I've been hurt, not just by her actions, but by how deeply they shook my trust in her. At the same time, I reminded her that I love her and always will. I said that while I can't change the past, I want to rebuild our relationship. We agreed to take things one step at a time. I suggested we try online therapy together. While she was hesitant at first, she agreed. She's already been seeing a therapist on her own and wasn't sure about opening up in a joint session, but I think she ultimately realized how much I want to make this work. I also brought up her brother. They've never had a closest relationship. He's always been more reserved and independent, while she's more outgoing and emotional. There's been tension between them in the past, and ever since he overheard what happened with her hiding the affair, they've barely spoken. I've tried to talk to him about maybe giving her another chance, even when I wasn't on the best of terms with her. I really want them to have a good relationship, but I also don't want to push him too much. He's his own person, and I don't want him to feel like I'm forcing him into something he isn't ready for or doesn't want to do. He is allowed to make his own decisions, and if they need time apart to heal, I'll respect that. Someone mentioned the unrealistic standards we often hold women to, and I've been thinking a lot about that. I don't hold her to any impossible standard just because she's a woman. She is the light of my life, but sometimes I realize I've shared everything in such a negative way because of how it all played out. I'm just trying to make sense of it all. I don't know exactly where I stand or what I'm feeling at times. I'm just moving through life like anyone else, doing the best I can. Thank you all again for your advice and for giving me the push I needed to start this conversation. It's not easy, but I'm hopeful we'll get through this, one step at a time. Please let go of the idea of your son and daughter being close. Don't push for it. Don't ask for it. Just let it go. People choose who they want to engage with, and quite frankly, if I were your son, I would not want to be around your daughter either. They won't be close, and you need to be okay with that. Honestly, I'm coming to terms with it. They have a decent age gap and their personalities are very different, which often causes friction. Even before her concealment of the affair came to light, they weren't close. There are several reasons for it, and I don't want to paint anyone in a bad light, but it's been like this for some time now. Right now, I'm trying to let my son be his own person and respect his feelings. I don't want to pressure him into prioritizing this relationship. I've also put him in therapy to help him process everything. He is a bit apathetic about the situation, not towards me, but towards his sister. He just doesn't care anymore, which in some ways feels worse. But this is where things stand for now, and we don't know what might happen in the future. I'm learning to take it one day at a time. Holy crap, you are both really crappy parents. No wonder your kids have issues. I'm doing my absolute best. It's so easy to sit back and judge without knowing the full picture. Tell me, what makes me a crappy parent for punishing my daughter for her actions? For taking some time to heal and process just because I'm human too? I gave her everything she needed to succeed in life, and as soon as that incident happened, I put her into therapy. I'm 100% okay with facing harsh judgment for how I handled the affair situation, but I'm not okay with being judged for how I handled the school situation. I stand by my decisions. Maybe my tone was off, but I'm confident that what I did was right. Anyone who acts a certain way should be ready to face the consequences, and that's what I was teaching her. Yes, her constant tantrums bothered me. Yes, everything about the situation bothered me on a personal human level, but I'm not some freaking saint who just sits on a high throne. It's easy to point fingers at mothers especially. I know you're calling both of us crappy parents, but I'm going to push back here. We're human too. I did my very best, and no, you don't get to call me a crappy parent. Last story. Am I the a-hole for cutting off my best friend after she talked to my cheating ex-husband behind my back and made hurtful comments? I, 37 female, left my husband, 38 male, earlier this year after discovering he was cheating on me with someone from his workplace. We were together for 12 years, married for 8, and I truly thought we were solid. Finding out he had been sneaking around and lying to me for months was the most gut-wrenching thing I've ever experienced. I found out over Christmas last year. When I decided to leave, I asked my friends for one simple favor. Please don't maintain a relationship with him. I didn't think it was unreasonable. He betrayed me, and I needed my friends to have my back as I tried to pick up the pieces of my life. Most of them understood, but one of my closest friends, Sarah, 38 female, completely ignored my request. Here's the thing. Sarah and I have been best friends for over 15 years, but she's always had a strange dynamic when it came to my relationships. She used to make comments about how she was jealous that I always ended up with the good-looking guys, and would sometimes joke that she had a connection with my ex, even before he and I got together. I used to laugh it off, even though it made me feel uncomfortable and belittled, thinking she didn't mean anything by it. But now I'm not so sure. After the split, I started noticing Sarah acting strangely. She'd casually drop things into conversations that only my ex would know, like details about his new job or what he'd been up to. When I asked her about it, she brushed it off, saying she'd read it on his social media. Eventually, a mutual friend told me Sarah had been texting him regularly and even meeting him for coffee. When I confronted her, she admitted it but tried to downplay it, saying, "We were friends long before you and he got together." She added, "I'm not going to throw away my connection with him just because you two didn't work out." What hurt even more was when she said, "I don't get why you're so upset. He's still a great guy, and you need to stop being so controlling." She accused me of being too emotional about the divorce and said I was forcing her to pick sides. Then she told me to stop always being the victim. Here's what really stings. I don't know what he's been telling him about me. I confided in Sarah about everything. How hard it's been to start over, how anxious I feel about my finances, and how much I've struggled with therapy. The thought that she might have shared those deeply personal things with a man who destroyed me makes me sick. I told her I couldn't trust her anymore and stopped speaking to her. Now she's texting me saying she misses our friendship and thinks I'm being unreasonable for cutting her off. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for walking away from Sarah? Was I too harsh, or did she cross a major line here? Are you sure they weren't sleeping together too? Fairly sure. She is in a relationship with someone else and she seems pretty committed to him. My ex never showed any interest in her. It was always her with the insistence that they had a connection. I highly doubt she is. Either way, please get your full panel checked for STIs. I did get checked right away after I found out he cheated, because he would come home and have unprotected sex with me after being with another woman. She says you're making her pick sides, but she's willing to throw away your friendship to keep him around. She picked him.